Hi, and welcome to Morning Yoga with Shay. If you know me from Insta, you would know that this is my morning practice, something that I keep it for myself, mostly because I know the importance of just realizing there's a lot of noise here for me to talk without getting distracted. But this practice is mostly for me to come back to my body and to start my day with doing something for myself. And it's like when you wake up and when you prioritize yourself first thing in the morning, then the rest of day you have that thing in your mind, like you have already done something for yourself. So you have built trust in yourself. I used to have a practice, a yoga, daily yoga practice for a lot of years, but it was never like at a specific time. And I was really a believer in, what you should be practicing whenever you want to, because I was thinking of it more as a movement practice, a physical practice, which is still true. Like, I still feel like once a day you should dedicate some time in your schedule to move your body. But once I started looking inwards and trying to find a home in myself or, building more self trust, I realized the importance of having rituals in your day. Some things that are just for you and coming back to my body. And there's so many other benefits to a yoga practice that I knew that the first thing I want to do when I wake up is a morning yoga practice. So I started doing my morning yoga practice, and it is mostly just for me, because I always document my practice. It is something, I like to just keep it over there. This is with everything, with my marketing as well, with my mostly outward that I share on social media is something that I've done for myself, and I share it as a byproduct. Like, I've already done it and I put it out. And it's important for me to make it like this is just there. So I'm more in my body and in my mind, and I'm not thinking about performance. So when I was thinking, when someone asked me to make this practice, put it on YouTube, I was thinking about if I want to cannibalize my own morning practice and turn it into a teaching opportunity, what would that look like? And this is an attempt, this is a test to see if I would enjoy it. I definitely would. I enjoy teaching. If this doesn't take away a lot from my time, and I'm curious to see what will come out of it. And the last I taught yoga was last year in Peru at a hostel. But even then, I was in a very different state of mind. And before that, it's been like 2022, I guess. But I've kept with my personal practice, and I'm curious to see how this would come out. So, the way this would work, depending on what time you're watching this, I would definitely encourage to start this first thing in the morning because of the other things I will be encouraging you to do. You're welcome to take it as an invitation to include in your morning ritual as well. I like to have tea. So I make Kashmiri kahwa. It's made with cinnamon stick, cardamom pods. I add one clove. I don't think my mom adds it, but I saw someone add it, so I was like, okay. Um, and ginger. And then I let it boil while I'm getting ready with my, cleaning up the bed, taking a shower, putting up my stuff here, getting my books and journals out, and then the tea boils, and then I have my tea ready. So this is one thing. The other thing I always have with me is my journal. And I would also encourage you to have a journal in front of you. Maybe not right now, but towards the end. I don't know if I will keep that recording up on YouTube, but I always, every time I finish my shavasana, to kind of integrate back into the world, I let my brain dump everything that is in here onto the paper. Like, do not think a lot about it. Like, if you want to talk about, oh, my body feels nice, just write that. If you want to talk about, it is so noisy right now, just write that. But my goal is with this morning yoga routine that I'm going to share on YouTube or wherever you're watching this from, I think just YouTube, is to help you also figure out what your morning ritual could look like, which could be similar to mine. Like, feel free to take whatever is working for me because, it has taken me a long time to come to this is what works for me. So, and then over time, you will learn more about what is right for you and what you need to let go of. So, as for the structure of this flow of this morning ritual, I would like to start with reading something from the Bhagavad Gita. Some of the things that I have started to get more curious about in my own life, and I try to be mindful. I'm not perfect, but as much as possible, I try to see what the scripts say, what neuroscience says, what the world says, and how I can find my place in between everything that we know. So we start with that, then we will get into our flow. We'll see what it evolves to be today. And towards the end, Shavasana, take your time, feel free to end it whenever you feel like, and then some journaling at any point, because again, this is still my personal practice, so I will not be giving a lot of cues. But I decided to add the microphone because I'm like, I like to talk anyway. So let me see if I can talk through my own personal practice. So this wouldn't be so when I usually teach a class, I get very specific about adjustments like do this, do that. But I am going to assume that you know your body. And if I'm doing something that you're like, I can't do that yet. Oh my God, like how is she doing it? And I haven't given enough instructions. I want you to trust your body knows how to adapt to it. Tap into your creative power, tap into your personal agency, where if you feel like you want to have a pillow underneath your knees, use it. If you want to adapt or modify the poses, use that. And if again, while you're going through this and you did something and you're like, Shay, I don't know how you did that thing or how you did this thing, feel free to text me on Instagram and be like, hey, this was a bit difficult for me. So next time when I'm teaching, I can maybe expand a bit more on that. But that is not going to be my main focus. So have your yoga mat laid out. A pillow next to you is always a good idea. Your tea, and we will begin. So I made this yesterday, the balance of do and be. So I bought 6 of these. I have a lot of these right now to put it on the wall over here so I could do some writing and some planning as I'm working on La Casa de Sahelia. But turns out they're not proper whiteboard material. Like if this one is a whiteboard because I got this way back, but this one is a foam. So when I put the markers on it, it didn't rub off. So I was a bit upset because I put it all over the wall and I had to take it off. But then yesterday morning, I decided to create something. And these days, I've been having this conversation on the balance of do and being. And I also posted a reel on Instagram talking about this idea of structure and freedom. So I'm going to touch upon that through the lens of yoga, through the lens of Bhagavad Gita. Um, so let's read something from the Gita first. Point 8. So, Bhagavad Gita 3.8. Fulfill all your duties. Action is better than inaction. Even to maintain your body, Arjuna, you are obliged to act. Selfish action imprisons the world. Act selflessly without any thought of personal profit. So, if you are not aware of Gita, it's basically a conversation between the divine consciousness, which is Krishna, who is teaching Arjuna, and it's that conversation that is happening. Who is his student. So that is the first thing. And then later on in 4.18, he also says, one who sees in action, and action in inaction is wise. So the reason I say this is because this idea of structure and freedom. and it repeats a lot of times in different kind of philosophies, in a lot of like Bhagavad Gita, in yoga, in Tantra yoga, you have this idea of Shiva and Shakti. Shiva is the masculine energy and Shakti is the feminine energy. In Bhagavad Gita, it's more specifically the masculine principle is the karma, which is taking responsibility, having taking an action. And then feminine principle, the feminine energy is the sannyasa, which is surrendering, which is letting go, which is resting, witnessing, and trusting the flow. And Gita doesn't say that you should choose one. It asks us to act, but without attachment. Act without attachment. The action part is the karma, where you're acting, you're taking responsibility for your life or whatever you're going to do. But then the feminine power comes into letting go. We're not attaching to something. You can move fiercely in the world while staying anchored in your stillness. Any action or thought that creates an effect or ripple in the world is karma, basically in Sanskrit. And in yoga specifically, again, we yoga is basically the union. It's the equanimity. It's the balance of these energies of the karma, sannyasa, Shiva, Shakti, do and being. It is not just for something on the mat. It is something that you learn it in your body, deep, deep in your body. And because your body is the source, which is, going around the world and interacting with different external noises, external sources, you bring that awareness into everything you do, whether it's like at work, whether it's in relationships. But this is sometimes on the mat, this is where we learn how to balance those energies. And sometimes that looks like looking at the pose, doing everything you want to do to accomplish that pose, whatever it looks like, whatever I'm going to be doing. And then in your mind, surrendering and letting go of the attachment for it to look a certain way. Um, in Gita, Krishna, the divine consciousness, is asking Arjuna to embody both, to be still but act with fierce love. And just the idea of the Shiva and Shakti. Shiva is the consciousness, the structure, the witness, and Shakti is the energy, creation, and emotion. And a yogi is one who is balanced in success and failure, gain and loss, pleasure and pain, which is said in Gita 2.48. So I say this and I read this, and I don't want to go into too much of explanation. For you to just keep it in your mind as you're flowing and let it do something to your brain. It's always nice to let things marinate. So we are going to begin on our backs. You can keep your legs closer to your body, or you can just take them a bit far away. Just settling down to the mat, feeling the weight of your body on the floor. Notice the back of your skull making contact with the mat. Which part of the skull is making contact? The back of the shoulder blades, the back of your pelvis, the back of your sacrum. If you have put your legs fully down, the back of your legs making contact with the floor. Get curious about the points of contact that are making contact with the floor. What does it feel like there? letting your hands stretch out wide as if you're trying to reach something at the back of the room. Maybe letting your spine stretch from one side to the other. And let your whole body yawn. Imagine that you're waking up first thing in the morning and you're just like the yawn that happens with your face. You can enact that with me, but also we are going to bring that energy of fully opening up and contracting all the muscles and letting it go. So, fully, like imagine you're just waking up from the bed and you're like, and then contracting and coming back. You can bring your feet a bit closer, just taking them side to side so you feel the weight shift of your pelvis from one side to the other. You can let your legs fully drop. Keep your legs a bit wider if you feel like you're just bumping them into each other. Then maybe we place one hand on our belly, one hand on our chest as we come to some stillness. And with the hands making contact with the skin, get curious about your breath. What happens to your hands as you take an inhale? And what happens as you exhale? We'll take both hands and place them on the belly as if trying to hold the belly towards the side. And then, as you take a deep breath in, can you imagine your whole belly expanding like a balloon? So, you take an inhale and you feel the expansion. And then, as you exhale, there's this natural contraction, and you can feel your fingers expanding away and then coming closer. Inhale and exhale. Bring your legs a bit high up and continue to just go and let your weight shift from one side of the pelvis to the other. You can place your hands to the side to help you balance. But maybe as you're doing this, you can allow your legs to fully drop to one side and the other. If it's not going all the way down, you don't have to force it. But the goal right now is just to get curious about the weight shift that is happening on one side of the pelvis to the other. And can you mindfully just sit with that, just flow with that weight shift? Feel free to close your eyes. Then we let the weight of the legs drop all the way to the ground, where you will feel your body twisting slightly. It's okay if your shoulders lift up a bit and they're not fully on the ground. Everyone has a different body proportion, different body type. So I can't see you, so I can't really tell what is happening with your body right now. But just honor and know that wherever you are, adjust a bit, wiggle around, and just stay in this twisted position for a bit. You can let the upper leg maybe extend a bit And maybe you can take hold of the foot. You'll feel a stretch in the back of your leg here. And breathe into this stretch. And then bring that leg, bend it again as you get ready to lift the legs back up. And we go to the other side. Let the legs drop fully, wiggle around to be comfortable, and then open up, extend the upper knee, upper leg. Maybe take hold of the feet. Get curious about any stretch that you're feeling right now and see if you can breathe into it. And when I say breathe into it, what I mean is just focus on your breath. Just allow yourself to relax. We have gotten into a structure. The pose is the Shiva, it is the action. You're giving yourself a structure, a framework. And then how your body feels in it is your Shakti, and I am simplifying it with the Shiva and Shakti, but it helps to understand it. To allow yourself to just be in this pose, however it's asking you to show up. And then bringing the legs back, we will lift it up again. And then maybe make some circles this time. So imagine your knees are making circles on the ceiling. We'll do it in one direction and then reverse the direction. Take the hands, place them on your thighs. So you bring your knees closer to you. And we're going to start becoming like a small ball. So you bring your head closer to your knees and see if you can roll back and forth. So now you also will feel how the weight of the contact of the spine is changing with the floor. And maybe as you're rolling up and down, you will find yourself coming all the way up to seated, like this. Adjust as needed. We'll take the hands, place them under our knees. Depending on, you can put more hands here or you can just touch it with your hands and let your spine fully flex, going into a bit of a cat shape for your spine. Can you let that stretch feel, can you feel the stretch in this shape? Maybe taking the hands, taking the legs even further and going even deeper so you can feel it in your shoulder blades. And then lifting yourself up as you take your chest to face the ceiling. So I'm going from this cat to imagine that there's something on my chest here and I'm lifting it up towards the ceiling. And with my hands, I can use it as to push myself in here so I can feel the shoulder blades go back and lift up. And then just going back and forth between this cat and cow. Cat, notice how also your shoulder blades are going from fully curving in to there's a slight subtraction of the shoulder blades where they go away from each other, where you then start to lift yourself up. And as the chest goes up towards the ceiling, your shoulder blades also come closer together. So if you can imagine these as the shoulder blades, they're going away and then they're coming closer. Get curious about what is happening with your shoulder blades here. Because the cat and cow pose is not just about the spine. The spinal waves are not just about the spine, especially when you do it in a down dog pose, in a tabletop pose. It's important to differentiate between the two, but it's also important to understand how they work together. And then letting your legs just extend out, like let them go down. Maybe you can play around with the weight shift on one side to other as you wiggle yourself into this straight leg position, and maybe see if you can go all the way down to forward fold. Now, depending on how good you are with your forward folds, it doesn't matter. You can put the pillow here and then stay in this forward fold position, put the pillow underneath your knees. The goal is somehow for you to be comfortable for now. The more you do it, the more you can adapt it to however you want to. The goal is never for the hands to touch the toes and the head to touch the knees. If you are if you are flexible, then sure, that is your range. But within your range of motion, play around and make it fun for yourself. We are going to do a slight flow going from this forward fold position to getting back up and then placing the hands behind us. Now you can play around with how you place the hands. I will start with making a fist and putting the fist in the ground because we haven't really warmed up the hands just now, but you can also place the fingertips on the ground. Wherever you can also experiment with different positions, facing forwards, facing back, facing sideways. Find what is comfortable for you and start putting some weight on the hands. So I'm putting the weight and I'm also letting my spine extend forward because we are going between this cat and cow throughout this session. And then see if you can maybe put more weight on the hands and lift your hips up. Maybe you face upwards towards the sky, towards the ceiling, and gently lower your hips back down. Come back to this straight spine, neutral spine, as you go all the way to forward fold. And then lift yourself back up, going to lifting your hips up from the floor. And back. Repeat this a couple of times at your own pace. Feel free to play around with the position of the hands. The range of motion can change. When we are lifting our hips up, it's the glutes. It's like you're contracting it and you're feeling this, like the glutes are the one lifting you up. And then you let your also spine face more towards the back of the wall. So we're also taking the legs from flexion of the hips. This is flexion. And then lifting ourselves up to extension of the hips. As you know, back bends are not just all about the spine itself, they are also about the hips. When you do a back bend, a wheel pose, you're also taking your hips in extension. And one last time. We'll take our legs back to come into a tabletop. The distance between the hands is roughly going to be the distance between your shoulders. So the wrists would come directly below your shoulder. So play around with what that distance is for you. And same with the distance of the knees would be more where your hips are. And depending on that, you can get play around with the distance between your knees as well. So if you keep it too close, it's not going to help you with the balance. And everyone's pelvis, shoulder size is going to be different. So find what is it for you. Also, try to mess up sometimes. And, if something doesn't work, then that's when you know this is not what you should be doing. That's how you build trust in yourself, because you do the actions that are wrong, and then you learn that is not what you should be doing, and you course correct next time. So once you have found a good distance, we are going to just gently circle around. And maybe circle around in the other direction. As you're circling around, can you slow down so much that maybe you can feel the weight shift on these 4 different points? So you have one left hand, then the right wrist, then the right knee, and the left knee. And then you can go in the opposite direction. When you put more weight on one side, see if you can lift up the other hand, bring it back. The other side, lift up the other hand. Side to side. We'll take the wrist and place it towards the knees and go back and forth to stretch the wrists a bit, the forearms. You can do both hands at the same time, or do it one at a time. And then shake it off, come back, put weight on the fingertips, and see if you can lift the palm of the hands up and down. Lift up, down. Lift up, down. Lift up, down. So again, staying in this position, go for a cat where you're really pushing the hands into the ground. Imagine that you're trying to push the ground away from you. So you're putting some effort into it, that you're like, I want to move this away from me. So push the hand into the ground, and you will naturally notice how your shoulder blades are going to start protracting, because that's what the action of pushing does. And in that protraction, allow your spine to go for that cat position. And now imagine you're trying to pull something towards you. So this idea of pulling something close to you like this. Imagine you're trying to pull the ground closer to you. And when you do that, you will feel the action of the shoulder blades coming closer to each other. And let your spine follow into a cat pose, where your pelvis goes into an interior tilt and your chest faces forward, maybe up towards the ceiling. Go and play around with this action of push and pull, cat and cow. The pelvis goes from posterior to anterior. The spine goes from flexion to extension. The shoulder blades go from being closer to each other to being away from each other. And the action you're going from, not just in the hands, but also in your knees, it's this action of push and pulling. Push and pull. Now, with these 4 different points, but actually there are 6 points, because your feet are also making contact with the ground. And with this idea of push and pull, flexion, extension, so traction of shoulder blades and letting it just go, letting it retract, um, we are going to just play with the weight shift. So feel free to play any song if you feel like it, but I'm just going to do it in the silence and just playing around with what this weight shift can, how my body reacts and interprets this prompt that I'm giving you, which is basically play around with, wait, the 6 different points that are making contact with the ground. You can push and pull, you can retract and protract your shoulder blades, you can feel this cat and cow, you can play with spinal waves if that's already something you can do or you are curious about, and just have fun with it. If you go for spinal wave in one direction, go for the spinal wave in other direction. If you don't know how to do it, I'm going to plug in and say that I have a course on spinal waves. Hmm. And then, still keeping the contact with the ground, we will tuck the toes in and see if you can now play around with this weight shift concept, but also letting the knees lift up. So I'm not just now playing with the weight shift on my knees, but also letting maybe one knee at a time lift up. Maybe both knees lift up, coming to a down dog, seeing what this could be. And we will end this in a down dog. So a down dog is a very interesting position because it's basically 4 points of contact. Your feet are straight out. You can bend them as needed. I always like to keep it bended because it gives me more opportunities and more options for play. But then I also like to play around with keeping it straight because it gives me new sensations and new inputs. And we are going to push the ground away with our hands. So you can feel this lengthening of your spine, as they say. And slowly start to walk feet closer to your hands. And the final position for this is going to be a forward fold, keeping your knees as bent as needed. Your belly doesn't have to touch your thighs, but if it does, that is amazing. Let your head just hang here, maybe taking it from side to side. Take your hands and play with your hair. Or if you don't have hair on your head, just massage your skull. Just bringing attention to different parts. Over here, we can also play around with massaging the back of your neck because this position is allowing your neck to just drop. It's hanging, it's surrendering. It's a great position to just bring some sensations, to bring some touch awareness to these parts. And then slowly we're going to lift ourselves up. As you come to a standing position, Tadasana, play around with the distance between your feet. So, same as in tabletop, the distance between your feet would be more or less the same as the distance between your hips. Your pelvis would determine that. So, just weight shift from one side to the other. So, just going this to here. Then we'll come to stillness when you find a position that feels good to you, and let your body just slowly come to a center. Take your hands all the way up, maybe interlace your fingers. As you push them, lift them up towards the sky. Maybe we'll play around with coming onto our tippy toes and see if you can find a balance here. Lifting as high as you can, then slowly bringing yourself back down. Repeat this a few times, playing with the balance, with the gaze, because I am trying to look at one point. It helps me focus so I can balance better. But then the next time you do it, also play with closing your eyes and see if you can still maintain that balance. You will notice how your body, even though you're doing the same thing again and again, but you just took away the eyesight, you took away a sensory input, and how it just starts to feel, oh my God, what is happening? It starts to feel a bit unsafe, which is given. And then come back. We'll interlace our hands behind our heads and let the arms, since I haven't taught yoga in a while, I am forgetting the names of the body parts. We'll let the shoulders open up and let the chest face towards the sky. And then curl it inwards. So you're going for a bit of a thoracic flexion. And open up. So just in the upper body right now, we are going for a bit of a extension and flexion. Extension and flexion, combined with keeping the hands interlaced, opening up the shoulders fully and closing it. The next time you are down with your elbow pits trying to come closer to each other, we'll go all the way down to forward fold. So see if you can maintain this position of your arms closer to each other as you come all the way down to forward fold. In this forward fold position, keep your knees as bent as you want to or feel good with, and let your hands open up. Let your head look up. And imagine there's a string on your head that is taking you all the way up as you come back. And we'll repeat this going from forward fold and lifting yourselves up. So this is the forward fold wave. I won't go into the detail of how to do it step by step right now, but I have shared it a lot of times in my previous classes. If you have the random movements, any of the random movements courses, or if you follow me on Insta and if you have seen these videos before. Then next time you come to forward fold, let go of your head. Bring your hands to your knees and lift up to half lift. We'll straighten one leg at a time. So you can keep your face looking down for now. But then the next time you straight bend this, let's say you're bending the left knee and straightening the right knee, we'll place the left hand onto the knee and face towards that leg that is straight. So I take my hands all the way up, maybe look towards the hands. And then I take the hand that is up, bend the knee, place this hand on the right knee, and then straighten the left leg and straighten the left hand up towards the ceiling, looking towards my left thumb. And we can also play with just taking it from one side to the other. Come back to the center, come back to forward fold, let your hands come to the floor, and we'll take one leg back at a time. Let's start with left leg. Coming to a half lunge, to a 90-90 lunge, feel free to keep a pillow underneath your knees. So this leg is 90, that leg is 90. Finding this straight feeling, the neutral spine from your hips all the way to your head. And once you have found your stability in this position, one way to, if you're not feeling stable, is do not keep both of your legs in the one straight line. Imagine that they're two different rail tracks, and this leg is on one rail track and this leg is on the other. So you're still trying to keep remember the width of your hip. You still need to balance that. We'll take our hands all the way up. Again, stretching out our whole body. And then go for some cat. And let your hands open up as you go for a cow. Imagine that you have some energy that you're playing with. So as you're going for the cat, you're pushing something away. And as you're going for the cow, you're bringing it back up towards the ceiling. So it doesn't matter how, but imagine there's some energy you're playing with and your spine is reacting to that. We'll take our left hand down and the right hand, which is the same hand as the same side as the leg that is bent, goes all the way up towards the ceiling. So you can face towards the hand, and you can, or maybe you can let your neck drop here, so you can feel a nice stretch in your neck. Here, maybe you tuck the back toe in and you lift yourself up. So you're still in this twisted position, but your back knee is now off the ground. Bend that knee again. We'll take the front leg, pivot the back leg first to face towards the back of the mat, and take the front leg all the way back. So I'm in this modified side plank. I can feel the stretch in the side of my spine, and in order to really accentuate and feel more of the stretch, imagine that there's a string here and something is pulling this string towards the side. So you can also take the hand and imagine that you're pushing something away in front of you. Maybe we'll go for some circles in the arms. One direction, Then reverse. Bringing both hands again on the mat, same as the tabletop distance. We'll take the leg back, so we come into a plank this time. Maybe you bend the knees and you lower all the way down. Hands come next to your chest as you lift yourselves up to a up dog or the cobra. So the difference between up dog and cobra is cobra can be a bit just on the focused on the upper spine, so you're just focusing on the shoulders and the upper body. So this becomes a cobra, versus an up dog is where you bring the hands more closer to your mid ribs, and then you roll your shoulders back because you want to go for that. So traction in the shoulder blades. Remember the push, the pull, when you pull the ground away from you. And then you activate your glutes as well because you want to feel the whole back bend, because it's not just your spine anymore. And you involve the low back. And when you involve the low back, there's always more consideration than just the spine. You have to learn how to engage, or let me phrase it this way, you have to learn how to bring all the parts of your body to participate in that back bend. So it's not just your spine, it's also your glutes. In fact, your glutes are a big contributor to your back bends. Lower all the way down. And we will lift ourselves up to tabletop and down dog. This time we take the left leg and bring it forward. So we come into a low lunge as before. Feel free to keep a pillow in front of you so your right knee can land on that. Coming to a 90-90, front leg is 90, back leg is 90. Placing them further a bit away so you can find a balance here. So when you're doing your cat and cows in this position, you're not falling apart, you're not falling down. Take your hands all the way up towards the ceiling. And then bring them forward as you go for a cat in your spine. Remember that feeling of traction in your shoulder blades. Your shoulder blades feel like they're going away from each other. And then we'll play with this energy of push and pull. The right hand comes on the ground next to your left leg. Left hand goes up towards the ceiling. You can look towards the thumb and you can let your neck drop. We pivot the back leg towards the back of the room and take the front leg all the way to the side. So I'm in a modified side plank. At this point, my hand on the ground is in the same line as the knee, the middle knee and the leg. And I take the left hand and push. Imagine that I'm pushing something away. So I can feel this exaggerated stretch in the side of my spine. Some circles in one direction for the arms, and then circles in the opposite direction. Bring your hands in front of you, lift yourself up to plank. You can lower down directly, or you can lower your knees and lower yourself down. And take the pillow to the side, lift yourself up to cobra or up dog. Lower all the way down. This time we'll keep our hands a bit wider, and as you lift up just for the upper body, just upper back in the cobra, take your shoulders and drop them to the ground one at a time. So shoulder drops up, shoulder drops. So you're trying to get the top of the shoulder to touch the ground. It doesn't have to, but the feeling, the intention is there. Lower all the way down. Bring your hands closer to your chest as you lift yourself up to tabletop. Now, in this tabletop, again, play around with weight shift until you find a position that feels good for you. We're going to come to a child's pose for a bit. Stay here. Come back to your breath. Feel the connection of the belly with the thighs. And as you're breathing in, how the belly expands against the thighs. And what happens when you exhale. We're going to play with some spinal waves after this. If you haven't done spinal waves before, just see if you can just copy and mimic whatever I am doing. I can't teach spinal waves in 10 minutes. It's much more detailed than that. But for now, just imagine every part of your body is going through this flexion and extension on its own. It's also something you will take your own time to develop. Even if I can give you a 1 hour class, you will still have to get familiar with your body, get familiar with all the 33 bones in your spine to understand how they move. And over time, it will become easier. So we will start with this child's pose and lift ourselves, keeping our whole body in cat shape. We will lift ourselves up and then letting the pelvis go for a slight anterior tilt to begin with. Then the middle back goes into a bit of an extension. Then the shoulder blades come closer to each other, and the neck is the last one to lift up as you go back down. And right now we are in this cow shape, and we will start to take the pelvis and turn the pelvis into from interior to posterior tilt. So from going into this extension to flexion, and let that ripple all the way to the mid back, to the upper back, the shoulders up retracting and pushing the ground away at this point, and the neck goes down. And now I'm in this cow cat shape, and I'm going to hold it and start to take the pelvis into anterior tilt, and the belly goes down, the chest goes forward, and the neck looks up. And while I'm doing this, I'm also playing with the weight shift of the knees and hands, taking me back and forth. So this is a spinal wave which starts with your pelvis. Your pelvis is the first point where you're taking it all the way to anterior or posterior. But you let the movement be completed first before you change that. And then the reverse, the other one is where you start with your upper body. So I imagine this as I'm trying to pull something towards me, and I bring my chest closer to the ground. I lift myself up, and then I take my chest into a cat shape. And then starting with the shoulders, starting with the upper body. Again, if you don't know exactly how to do it, please just see if you can mimic. Your body will learn over time. You don't have to do it everything at once. We'll lift ourselves to tabletop now and repeat the same things we did in tabletop to down dog. So there are different ways you can do it in down dog. You can keep your the toes on the ground and the heel of the feet lifted. You can keep your knees bent and you can practice this with this position, or you can place the feet fully on the ground, keeping the legs fully straight so you can feel the hamstring stretch, and you can practice this too. This is definitely the hardest because you're not letting the legs participate. Or you can go for a wider down dog. Maybe the legs are a bit wider. This gives you the most potential to play around with it. So because you can also play with bending of the knees. So as you go forward, you bend the knees as you go for the extension in the pelvis, the anterior tilt, and you go back. So this is one way to play. Or you can bring the feet fully on the ground, not really moving the hips as much, not really moving the knees as much. Then playing with this spinal wave. Or even while keeping the heels lifted but not moving the knees, not bending the knees, you can also do that. And this goes both ways. You can also do the top down, where you're going from the shoulder first to the pelvis. From here, once you have tried enough, just bend the knees for a bit, come down all the way to child's pose. Let your hands rest. You can take them to the side, shake them out. And whenever you feel ready, we'll lift ourselves back up to tabletop to down dog. We'll take the right leg all the way up, bend the knee, and make circles with your hips in one direction and circles in the other direction. Take this knee all the way back. So you go for a scorpion. I am keeping this leg straight because I like that stretch, but you can also keep it bent. As if your feet here are trying to reach something to the opposite, to the back of you. And then bring your weight a bit forward so you're more on your hands as we let this leg go all the way back. Lifting ourselves to a wild thing. Again, if you don't know how to do a wild thing, adapt. Trust your body would know what to do. The chest is lifting up towards the sky. Your hand is keeping you very stable here. Bring your hands back. As you come to a downward dog again, this time the left leg lifts up. Bend that knee, circle in one direction, and then circle in another direction. Take this leg all the way back as if your toes are trying to reach something on the back of you. You can keep the leg that is on the ground straight or bent. Come a bit forward And then take that leg all the way back as you come to a wild thing. Come back to down dog. You can stay here or feel free to go to child's pose before we transition to the next thing. From here, we are going to practice some inversions. Now, if you have any inversion in your practice, a handstand, headstand, pincha, feel free to use this time to play around with it. I always like to start with headstands because it's something that my body is comfortable with. So before I do anything else, I can do a pincha, but it is not as easy for me to do a pincha as it is to do a headstand. So, especially in the morning when I'm just trying to come back to my body, I like to go with something that is more familiar, but also a bit challenging. So, depending on your level, and again, if you do not know how to do a headstand, you can just get into the shape. Again, mimic as much as you can. Of course, don't try to lift up if you have never done a headstand before. So I always try to just put like 30% of the weight on my head, and then most of the weight is on my forearms. And then bring the legs as close to me as possible. I don't like kicking up in headstands because I want to be mindful about that. And then I lift my legs up and take it all the way up. Now you can stay here for as long as you want. If this is something you're working on, or you can play around with creating some chaos. So this is where also the Shiva and Shakti comes in. So the structure is this inversion, but then I'm seeing if I can play around with it, maybe take my legs from one side to the other, and also still maintain the balance. Then gently come back down. Come back to child's pose. And if you do have a pincha in your practice, use this as an opportunity to practice that. If you have a headstand, I will hope that I do not fall in this pincha, but it's okay if I do. So everyone would have something different to work on. And it's not because inversions are cool. Yes, they are cool. But they also teach you so much. And they make you so stronger. Like you will be amazed when you can't do any of this. And then one day suddenly you lift yourselves up to an inversion and you're like, holy shit, I can do that. My body did that. Imagine the trust it builds in you. That is why yoga poses are good to work on. Feel free to take a break, come to a child's pose, or continue practicing. Um, when I was initially practicing Pincha, I had no upper body strength. And for 6 months, I'll share a reel again about this someday. I just kicked up to the wall again and again and again and again. And I can't tell you how, because there was not a single moment when it just happened. But my body just got stronger over time. And one day I could do a pincha, and I was like, wow, I did not notice. Yes, I was attempting and doing it, but I didn't really register the strength I was gaining over time. I haven't done the same with handstands, because I am lazy with handstands. Someday. Okay, we are going to go for some back bends. So come onto your backs. This is going to be the last one before we allow ourselves to slow down. But again, just get curious about the points of connection that your body is making with the ground. Bring your hips a bit away from your pelvis, but not too far away, not too close, not too far away. With time, you can play with the distance that works for you. I can't really tell you the exact formula, like do this, do this, do this, and your body is suddenly going to know exactly how to do everything. Because I know my body, it's something I have learned. I can give you the framework that has worked for me. I can give you the structure where I know that you should, try to something you need to take, but then what you do with that structure and how your body interprets it is going to be so different. It's going to be your own rhythm, your own pace, your own understanding, your own awareness, and your unique body proportion is, and your the way you have moved your body all your life. It all comes into play. So, whenever you see someone else do something and want to do exactly that and make your body look exactly like that, just remember that your body is not that person's body. That person's body is not your body. So, why would you want it to look exactly the same? It's just not going to happen. So, we will put the weight of our feet into the ground and see, just by putting more weight here, lift my pelvis up and down. Again, if at the first time you're like, this doesn't feel comfortable, play around with the different distances and see what allows you to lift. Imagine again, there's a string, lift up, down, up, down. And I'm not going this, not yet. I'm keeping my upper body still on the ground and I'm just lifting the mid back. Up, down. But while you're up here, maybe we hold on to it, this, and feel the engagement of the back of your glutes. And imagine that you have those kids have those cars. Imagine that car can go all the way from here to there, and this is a straight road. This is not a road with ups and downs. It's a straight road that goes from here down all the way up. Hold it and understand that feeling in the back of your hips, in the back of your glutes, because that is something that comes into a wheel shape. And if you do not know how to do a wheel shape, you can attempt it in the step by step I'm going to show you, or again mimic it. You know your body the best. Stop when you feel like this is too much. And lower back down. Now, the hardest part is definitely this wrist extension that happens. You can, if you have two blocks, I do not have them, you can place your hands on the blocks just next to your head. So you can push onto that. You can also use, there are very different things you can use. You can also use a pillow, whatever makes it comfortable for your hands. But it is going to ask some strength of your upper body as well to lift your spine up. So the step one is just lift your hips up And see if you can let your upper body also get involved in this. So now only my upper body, the shoulder is on the ground. This is step one. And maybe this is where you are today. The second step is going to be take this hand, place it on the ground, on the blocks, on the pillow, and see if you can put more weight on those hands to lift yourselves up. So maybe you lift slightly, you're on your head, and you're just slightly lifting up. Maybe here. And from this, the third step would be to lift all the way up. And the fourth step is you bring the spine towards the wall. You can play around with the distance between your hands and your feet. But if you do not feel like doing wheel pose, it is too hard for you. You don't have to do it. Just go stay in bridge position. This is not an easy shape for the body. I have a whole course on just back bends, so I can't teach you all about it in 10 seconds or 10 minutes even. And come back down. Feel free to repeat the process a few times if you feel like it. And when you come back down, let your wrists go, make some circles in one direction and circles in other direction. We will start the class the same way we ended it. We will end the class the same way we started it. Just by taking the pelvis from side to side. Maybe the hands go out wide. Maybe doing some circles. And taking it from one side, letting it drop. And then other side. Feel free to stay here as long as you want, or do any other shape that comes to your mind where you feel like relaxing. This was not really a long class in terms of all we did. This is what happens when I decide not to do a personal practice and teach. And this is why I can't just turn my personal practice into a teaching class, because those are two very different things. Every time I teach, I have to be mindful of the people who would watch it and adapt to their pace. And as you can see, I like talking when I teach. And I'm not saying this is something that everyone should be doing. This is just something I have found as a teacher. This is my style. Very slow, very mindful, especially if I teach yoga. I do not like to jam in a lot of things. That's why I prefer to do separate courses separately on spinal waves, back bends, because that gives me more time and it gives you more time to really understand and embody those concepts. You can also go for the reclined pigeon, where you place place one foot on top of the other knee, and maybe take hold of the inner knee, playing around with weight shift. And maybe even in this, you can take your hips all the way towards the side of the leg which is bent, the the side which is opposite to the leg that is curled over. Sometimes hard to explain these concepts. And then push your knee away from you. And then coming back to the center, changing the position of the leg. So the other leg is on top and then you're holding onto it. So you feel the stretch in the outer thigh here. And then we take it all the way to the other side and push this leg away from you. I have written some things on the whiteboard that I'm looking at, and I don't know, I'm just going to read it. The first thing I see is you're allowed to change your mind after collecting more information. Um, and that is so true because I think that is where we get really stuck. So you can bring your legs back and just take it from side to side. Go for happy baby or any other pose that you feel like. But I'm going to complete my thought on that. So I feel a lot of times we are not okay with, we are miserable because we can't really make a decision, is because we think it's a final decision. But I like to think of every thought, every decision that we make as probabilities in our brain. So let's say you have to make a really big decision and you don't have to think or decide on it right away. You can think of it as right now, I feel 10% confident about this decision. And the more data you get, 20%, 30%, 40%, the more data you collect, you can be more confident in your decision. You increase the probability of that decision to be true for you. Or it can help you decide that, oh, actually, this is reducing the confidence level I have in this decision. So what that you do to yourself is allowing yourself to change your mind, because whatever it is true for you at the moment, but it doesn't mean that once you collect more information, it is always going to be true. So you're allowed to change your mind once you collect more information. And at the same time, right now, you're allowed to make a decision based on what is right for you in this instant and with what you know right now. And if you're still conflicted, that just means you need more data, you need more time. And this applies in every single thing in life, in relationships, in business. Right now, I'm doing this also for my the community that I'm working on. Because there's so many things I need to decide on, then I was like, okay, I need to do the minimal things, and some things I'm allowed to change my mind on. And it relieves the pressure. It takes away the pressure from you because you know that it is going to change. The only thing that is permanent in this world is change. Everything else is temporary. So let go. All right. Let me know if you want me to talk less. But since you asked for this video, now you get to listen to my talking as well. Let your legs straighten out fully, and we will go for Shavasana. To end the class, we are going to end in Shavasana. I am not going to include that footage in here because Shavasana is something deeply personal for everyone. But I'm going to add the music description in the description below. It's a 10-minute music that is perfect for me for Shavasana. It may not be for you. I also like to have something for my eyes so I can fully disconnect. And thank you so much for joining me for the class today.